Let's get started. So Exploratory online seminar number 50. Today, I'd like to cover Salesforce and Exploratory. And then today's topic is really about how to get the Salesforce data from the Salesforce directly into the Exploratory, and then you can clean up or transform the data so that you can visualize and analyze, and then you can gain insights that help you answer your business questions. So it's really like I like to go through the data science workflow, but center around the Salesforce data. Okay, so today's agenda is basically go through the science workflow. So let's get started with data. Um, Before getting into it, I like to make sure that one thing, which is that it supports these editions of Salesforce. So the professional, enterprise, unlimited performance, and developer editions. So if you are on these editions of the Salesforce customers, then you can start importing the data from the Salesforce directory. There are other options, then it doesn't support as of today. So just to make sure. And so we have two modes of the how you can import the data from Salesforce. One is pure UI, just click and click. It's like just clicking the buttons and selecting it, kind of stuff. The other is a UI, but you still have to write a SQL query. So it's really a SQL query. Okay. So having said that, like instead of going through the slides, I like to jump into the demo on this one. Okay. So left-hand side, this is inside the project, and then you can click on this plus button next to the data frame. And then there is a menu said Cloud Apps Data. Underneath, we have added this Salesforce from the version 6.6, which we released a few weeks ago. So selecting on it, and then I have already authenticated before, but if you haven't, if this is the first time, you will be asked to go through like an OAuth, open authentication process, to allow Exploratory to be able to see your data in a Salesforce. Otherwise, it can't query the data from Salesforce, your Salesforce system. Okay, and with that, and here you can select the table. Okay, and then this time, like I like to see like opportunity, and this is a list of tables, not only the seeded table in the Salesforce system, but if you had custom tables, those will be listed here as well. And then from here, like I like to select, whatever the columns I will be interested in. So like I just kind of going through and click on the run button. I can use the shift key or just, go about one by one. And then you see the preview data here, and it looks like there's some columns that don't even have data. So I'm gonna deselect it just by clicking it. For example, total opportunities, and then this like next step. And this data is a demo data. It's actually developer edition data. So it's kind of a very limited number of rows, but I think that's good enough for this demo. And then from this point, you can actually use the filter inside this data import dialog. And what it does is like basically like you add those filter conditions to query against the Salesforce data. So you don't have to bring in all the data you have in a Salesforce system. So for example, by clicking on it, and this is if you're an Exploratory user, very familiar filter interface. So for example, let's say like a stage name, and then like I like to see like, hey, I want to see the stage. It's already closed. Um, close stages, and I can create query like this. Or instead, maybe like I can use a date information, and then I can create a date filter. So let's say, for example, relative dates, and then maybe like last, I don't know, like last 9 months. Last here we go. That's 9 months data or 6 months data and so on. Once you create a filter and you click on run button, and then it will return whatever the rows that match with this filtering condition. You can create multiple conditions and then, or you can go with just a simple condition as well. This time, I'm going to delete this filter condition for now. and then I'm gonna just import all the data. So click on the save button, and then save it as opportunity underscore one. That's fine. And then now the data has been imported from the Salesforce, and then here's a new data frame being created. I'm gonna hide on left hand side to have more real estate for all the charts. And then now like all the columns is being visualized with charts and also some statistics or some metrics. Okay, so it looks like, for example, the amount or maybe let's see like expected revenue. The minimum value is 1,500 and the max value is $915,000 and so on. And then, for example, here's a stage name. I have the 9 stages. So that's a quick way to know what is their name. I have like 27. Looks like there's some like duplicated rows, like multiple opportunities for a single account. Okay, so that's cool. And then from here, what you can do is like you can transform the data. So if you want to transform, like you can do like from the column header menu, or you can go to the table view. That's more like kind of like a familiar view, like it's similar as Excel. And the same thing, like from here, like I can see column header menu. And then like, if I know some of the problem ahead of time, then I can start cleaning up the data, transform that data and stuff. But for here now, let's create a chart quickly and visualize what type of data we have. So here, the name column. So this is basically the name of the opportunity or the name of the account. So there's a chart icon. I can go to the chart view and start creating the chart from scratch, or this kind of a shortcut. This will create a chart with the name column on the x-axis being assigned already. And then like I can assign, let's say, y-axis expected revenue. So now what I'm seeing for each opportunity, what is the expected revenue, and just sorted by the values. And I can change the sort of like a position of, orientation of the chart. And so see here, for example, this opportunity has, what is this? Like it's almost like 1 million or so. So that's a huge opportunity right here. And then from here, and I noticed one thing is like here's like a generator, installation generator. So looks like this account name is kind of like a long, and then seems like this generator thing is like many company account has the same sort of like this string or text. So I want to remove this generators thing here. Okay, and then I can actually go back to do, so that's the data wrangling 101. So here, let's from column header menu, and then there's a work with text data. So, this is kind of very typical data wrangling. Like you have the text data, you have a problem, multiple problem usually. But anyway, so like I'm gonna go with work with text data. And then, there are other options. Main thing you usually use is remove, replace, extract, convert. Those are the 4 main things in terms of like cleaning up your text data. This time I want to use a remove, and then I want to remove multiple text like generator and generators and then maybe like a SLA and all that. So I'm going to select this text bracket multiple candidates. And then here, let's remove that generator. And I noticed that there's a generator and also generator S, like a plural. So I want to remove all of them, right? Both of them. So I'm going to type S, generator S. If I type S, then now generator is not selected. So I'm going to type generator, so multiple entries. So like the first one, try to match, and if it doesn't match, and try to do with the second one. So now generators and generator, both of them are matching. And I can add, for example, hey, I don't need installations or SLA and so on. I'm going to just do only SLA for now, and then click on the preview button. And then I can go on and on, for example, removing the installations and so on. But for this demo, I'm going to just stop right here. And then I can override with this result on the original column. Okay, so I can click on Run button at this point. And then there's now a new step at the right-hand side. This is the second step. It does the text wrangling or clean up the, removing the generators and thing. So and then go back to the chart. And then I don't see any difference at the x-axis here. So that's because the chart pin is still pinned to the first step before the text wrangling. So I'm going to move this pin button to the second step. Now, all the account name doesn't have generators and generator and also SLA. Okay, so that looks good. And then another thing I like to do is like, so here's a color. And then like I can add, for example, the stage name. So like I want to see like what are the stage, for each account. And in this case, for example, the United Oil Refinery, the one seems like this amount of the money is closed one. So this is good. But then there are somehow this one is like a proposal price quote. So $200,000 still hasn't finished yet. So that's the kind of indication that's helpful. But one thing it's kind of not helpful is that here, this is a stage. And if you're familiar with the sales stage, sales stage starts from usually like prospecting, and then you get qualification, make sure like the opportunity is worth, following up or tracking or not kind of stuff. So then all the way to, and eventually close the opportunity, right? So this order is actually I think this is more like a alphabetical order, starting from C, I, N, P, and so on. And so this is not helpful at all because it's kind of confusing, like which, where the accounts are, and then like you always have to know like exactly which position of the each stage name. So for this kind of problem, not really Exploratory. Exploratory was built on top of R, which is a data science program language. But the R is really designed for analyzing the data created by the people who actually do the data analysis. So there is a one data type that was already created or supported from the beginning of our history with R, which is called factor. And so that's something that I like to use. But before going so for example, this is a problem we have. So like stage of opportunity. Let's say like I just created four things, right? You do the hearing with the customers, and then a conversion. And conversion is basically the one. And then if it's proposal, prospecting, this is super confusing because we naturally think, or Salesforce especially naturally thinks that, hey, the stages for opportunity is starting from prospecting and hearing and a proposal and the conversion or win or closing, right? So this way, then no confusion, anything about that. So basically, we want to create this kind of order for this particular column. So what we do is like we can convert this like a character data type column to factor data type column and have these like order information embedded inside that column. So that's what the factor column data type column can do. So prospecting, hearing, proposal, conversion, and then we can give the name like a level. We call it level, but it's basically the order number or index number 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's something we want to do. So then from the surface, looks like exactly the same as a character data type column, except behind the scene, there's this level information embedded inside that column. Okay, so let's do this. What I'm trying to say, do is here, let's go to the summary view. Either way, summary view, table view, same thing. But from here, so I'm going to set a stage name. This is a column right now, like 9 values. I want to set the order. Okay, so here from the column header menu, there is a one menu from the kind of start from the bottom, set order for values. There are various ways to set the levels or order, but this time I want to go with manual, meaning one by one, I'm going to select. So let's say the first one is like prospecting. Okay, so like I'll select the prospecting. And the second one is a qualification and so on. But now like I have to do like 9 things in this demo, like I don't have enough time. So I'm gonna, oops, I already copied. So I'm gonna paste it that whole order. And typically if you do from scratch, you're gonna just select one by one, whatever the order like you wanna create. And then once you create it, that's you can run it. By the way, the function that does that ordering or converting from character to factor data type is called FCT read level. FCT represents stands for factor, and the read level, like resetting the level. And that's the name of the function. And I'm going to override the original column called stage name with that result from this function. So click on the run button. Now I have the third step, and then the stage name is basically this one's now is ordered following the levels that we just set instead of like a number of the frequencies or counts. Okay. So now the data type is a factor, and then let's go to the chart. And again, this order is not respecting what we have just said. That's because third step is where we set that order. So, but the chart is still pointing the second step. So I want to get the third data from the third step. I can move the spin button to the third, and then now here this order is starting from prospecting, qualification, and so on, and then ends with close one. Depends, what you your preference. Some people, this is okay because, hey, like I want to start from the bottom to the top because I've kind of like a stack bar chart. You want to see from the bottom to top. But some folks want to see from the top to bottom. Hey, like I might naturally I see from the the top to bottom. In that case, you can actually change this order with a color menu. There's a color sort order when you click on it. And then right now it's a bottom to top, but you can change that to top to bottom order. Okay, so now it's starting from prospecting, qualification, and all this, and all the way down to closed one. Okay, so that's a very quick way to create a chart. Then you can. I have just created one chart, but you can start creating multiple charts and so on. Okay, so that's that. But one point I like you to bring home is most of the time, like you don't transforming the data just for the sake of data wrangling or transforming the data. Typically, you want to visualize the data, you want to analyze the data, then you realize, hey, some data is not well formatted. Then you do the data wrangling, and then you visualize it, and then you realize there's another problem that you need to address by cleaning up the data, transforming the data. So this transforming or data wrangling and data visualization going back and forth, back and forth. So it's very hard to sort of separate. So I think that's the way like I just did was just not just for the demo, but I think it's very typical scenario. And then Exploratory is pretty good at combining those two experiences. So I hope that will help Salesforce data visualization much more efficient. Okay, so the next topic is now you can visualize it. You create a bunch of charts, and then you want to present those charts in a dashboard so that you can monitor or you can share those insights with others. Okay, so that's the topic I like to do. I like to cover. So here's a typical dashboard in Exploratory. So what is so unique about a dashboard in Exploratory is that you can bring in a different type of components or charts. So at the top is the numbers. You can create those numbers under the chart view. And at the bottom is a map or chart, those types of chart, there are various chart types you can create. But also in the middle, you can go to the analytics view, which I'm going to do after this. And then you can create, let's say like a forecasting model or something like that. And then you can bring in the charts that, from analytics view as well. So you can bring all of the stuff in one single chart. Not only that, this time like I imported the data from Salesforce, but you can import another table of the Salesforce, or you can import the data from different databases. And then you have a bunch of data frames and create different charts with those data frames, and then you can bring in all different charts from different data sources as well. Another thing is that in Exploratory, I have already done is kind of moving the pin button to the different steps. What that means is you can create chart with various steps, in any step, and then you can just pin it, right? The one chart coming from step 2, one chart coming from step 8, and so on. And then you can bring in all the charts in one single dashboard, but these charts might be coming from before aggregated data, or this chart is coming after the aggregated data, and so on. So that's very flexible. Creating a dashboard is like next to the reports, and select the dashboard, and then start adding the chart. It's pretty simple. And then you can change the height or width. And then once you do it, you can click on Run button, and then you can look at it, or you can publish, which I'm going to cover quickly. But one thing though, like once you create this chart, and imagine these charts coming from the various different data sources, or apply the different like data wrangling steps, maybe like 8 steps or 10 steps and so on. And then the cool thing is next day or next week or next month, whatever, you want to refresh all the data. But when you refresh the data, of course, you want the same data wrangling steps to be applied, and also all the charts being created in the same way that you already configure. So to do such, you can click on this re-import data button. And this is going to query against the Salesforce data, or maybe MySQL database data, Google spreadsheet, whatever have you. And then apply whatever the data wrangling thing you have done or required to generate these charts in the dashboard, and then regenerate the output with the latest data. So that this kind of reproducibility is very important. I'm sure like I don't even have to emphasize that if you have done something like this, the reproducibility is a key. Not only save you from being painful experience, but also make sure the integrity of this dashboard. You don't want to have like a different result in every time you run, right? I mean, different result is okay, but errors is something that you don't want to avoid. So just click on this button, then you get the new latest dashboard. Okay, so that too, I'd like to just quickly go over. So here's a chart, and I already created before this session the dashboard, including like the numbers and the charts and so on. And I want to add the chart that we have just created in this chart dashboard. So to do, like I'm gonna add the chart underneath of these two charts. So like I'm gonna click on this plus button and add below. So there's a now new section right here, and then click on the add chart button, and then select this chart. I created actually under the opportunity, wait a second, opportunity 1. So this is a chart I want to import either way. And then like I want to adjust it. So set height evenly, or whatever have you. And then like I'm going to change that position. I'm going to drag and drop to change that row, so like I have like one chart in the middle and then 2 charts at the bottom. And then maybe like width wise, maybe like this is okay, something like this. And then click on the run button to make sure the output looks like the one I'm expected to see. So like looks okay. And then at this point, you can click on re-import data. That will again re-import the data from the Salesforce data source, but I just imported data, so I don't have to. So that's what it's called. So next step is you want to publish this dashboard. Why? Because you can do 3 things. Number 1 is you want to share with others, right? And this dashboard. Second thing is you want to schedule so that you can automate the refreshing that data thing. You don't have to like click on this button every single morning. Instead, publish it to the server and then schedule it so that automating the refreshing process. So let's say like every 6 o'clock in the morning or something. And also you want to have others who you share with to interact with this dashboard. Okay, so let's go through one by one. So first, I'm going to click on this publish button. And then, okay, I'm gonna publish it. Let's say like Salesforce demo dashboard, and that's fine. And I can add the tag, let's say like operations or monitoring or whatever. But I'm gonna just keep it as blank for now. And the private is checked. So this means this dashboard is gonna be published to Exploratory server, but in a private mode, which means nobody can see unless they are invited by me. Okay, so now, at this point, I'm gonna just publish it. And then once this publish is done, and then I see like a unique URL being generated for this to access to this dashboard. I can click on this open in browser button to open the dashboard inside the browser. And so this is the output. And then at this point, I can see it, so like I can just bookmark whatever. But also another thing I like to do here is I want to invite others. So like if I click on this invite button or share button, and then like I can add, like for example, somebody like this, and then okay, so I like to invite this person to be able to access this dashboard. So at this point, I see that list, but if you are inviting the person that you haven't invited before, then you just type the email address. Okay, and then once you type the email address, then it will send the email to that person. If that person doesn't have an Exploratory account, then the web page will ask them to create an account. That account is a free account, so you don't have to have a credit card or anything like that, just to view the dashboard. But they can't use Exploratory Desktop, which requires a license, unless you're in a community plan or something like that. But they can, as long as you viewing the dashboard, the chart or data that you share with, so they don't, it's all free. Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna just type, like, hey, hi, this is the dashboard, dashboard I created, and take a look or something. And then here's a Salesforce dashboard, and there's a title. And then I can click on this share button, and this will send an invite email. And then that person will be able to open this dashboard. Okay, and then after that, I'd like to do is I want to make sure this dashboard to be always up to date. So I can click on this schedule button, and then I can schedule, let's say like every day, let's say like 7 o'clock in the morning, and then save configuration. I can click on subscribe notification email, which means every time this dashboard is being scheduled, then Exploratory will send me the notification email with the screenshot or thumbnail of this dashboard. So I'm going to say click on save configuration, and this is been scheduled. So like next 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, I should be able to see this dashboard in the email. Okay, so that's the very simple way of sharing, publishing and sharing and scheduling. So once you, again, I'm going to just go through this slide. And this is the email you are going to receive if you are invited. Or if you invite somebody else, that person will see this kind of email. And if that person doesn't have an Exploratory account, I'm just repeating what I just said a minute ago. And then this is the UI they will see if they haven't created an account or log in the Exploratory page. And then once they create the account, then they can open that dashboard. Okay. And then once schedule, and then you subscribe. So this is like if you publish your dashboard, then you are basically, we call it author. And then you can click on this check box to get the notification email. And other folks you invited with, they can go open the dashboard and click on the 3-dot button at the right-hand side top. Underneath, there's this menu called subscribe. And in this way, like, they can subscribe the notification email as well. Then once you subscribe, then this is the email you will receive. And this is actually the enhancement we have done, implemented, delivered a couple days ago. So now the notification email, including the latest snapshot or the thumbnail. So this is actually really cool, because then you don't have to even click on the green button to open dashboard, if you just want to see some particular number in the dashboard. So this is a notification email. Okay, and then one thing, so you created a dashboard, or you basically imported data from Salesforce, and this doesn't have to be only Salesforce, any type of other database data as well. But then you publish, and then while Exploratory server can schedule at the server, that's because when you publish, it will publish along with the connection information. In the Salesforce case, is the OAuth, Open Authentication Token information. Then Exploratory server use that information to access to that, in this case, a Salesforce, to get the data. So that's why even a server or the desktop, you can have basically the same connection accessing to the same data source, in this case, a Salesforce. Okay. So the more details on the lifecycle dashboard, what you can do with the dashboard in Exploratory, I have done the seminar last week, and there's a recording available as well. So please take a look. You can always find this type of information under the Learn, and then go to How-To bracket Tutorials, and then there's a How-To page, left-hand side, all the menus, and then one of them is Dashboard. So you click on that, and then all the dashboard-related notes are coming up. One of them is called Online Seminar number 49. That's where I went through all the phases of lifecycle dashboard. Okay. So the next topic is parameterizing the dashboard. So this one, I don't have enough time to do the live demo on this one. So I'm going to just quickly show you some slides. So once you publish a dashboard, and the typical thing is like when you share with other people, each people have different interests, right? Like, hey, I want to see like Europe data instead of like all data, and so on. So in that case, you can create a parameter and have them use the parameters to filter down the data so that they can see only the data they want to see. Okay, so this is something that you can do in the desktop, and also you can do at the server once you publish. And you can use a parameter in Exploratory in the calculation and other places as well, but most often like the place you want to use is a filter. And then filters, there are three places, main things I like to introduce. Also, if you know more about like various type of filters in Exploratory, I have done the seminar in the past as well, so you might want to find that past recording as well. Anyway, so the data source filter, step filter, chart filter. So data source filter is that I show maybe like at beginning of this session. Right, so you can create a filter. This filter is the one that actually been sent to the Salesforce, so that like you don't have to bring all the data, right, by having this filtering condition. This filter itself can be parameterized. So click on the parameter button, and then if you created a parameter beforehand, then you just select it. If you don't, you can create a parameter from here. And another one is a step filter. So you create a data wrangling step, then like you create a filter step, and then maybe like stage name has to be matching with this particular value or something. And you can parameterize this one too. And another one is that you can create a filter inside the chart. And then, of course, you can parameterize this chart filter as well. So these are I think the main places that you want to use. You want to use a filter. And then, like, regardless, depends on your need. And once you create, you don't have to make parameterize. I mean, like, if you want to have a static filter, that's fine. Or but you want to make it dynamic, then, or you want to expose that, capability of filtering to your other users that you share with, then you want to parameterize them. Okay. And once you parameterize, and then you click on the parameter button, you will see the parameter pane, and you yourself can change those values in the parameter pane as well. Or when you bring in those charts, then the dashboard detect what are the parameters being used for all the charts in the dashboard, and it will show you all the parameters that are required or related to all the charts inside the dashboard. Okay, so you don't have to separate configuration or anything like that. Like all you need to do is just bring in the charts, and then all the parameters will be showing up automatically. Okay, and then once you publish, and then there's a parameter button, and once you can click on it, and then there's a switch at the top says use parameter, and then you turn it on, then it becomes a interactive mode, and you can change the parameter values and interact with that dashboard. And the same thing with other folks that you invite with, they can also interact with it, the dashboard as well. Okay, and there's more details on the parameter, how the parameter works, because this is actually pretty cool, because you can design parameters or how you use the parameters in a very flexible way. So I put some of the slides, and I'm going to share this slide after this session. So if you're interested, in please take a look on how how those parameters, or how you can design the parameter for your dashboard. Okay, so another thing, one thing though, I introduced the two ways to get the data from Salesforce. One way is a UI, the other one is a SQL query. You can make your SQL query parameterized as well. This is basically the same thing with like a database SQL query too. So you can bring in a parameter capability as part of the query, a SQL query. If you want to know more about the parameters, I have done the parameter seminar as well, number 39. So you might want to take a look for more details. Okay. So the last two topics now are getting into analytics stuff, starting with forecasting. Okay. So now we have like a Salesforce has a lead table. And then, maybe like a number of the leads and coming in like every month or every week and so on. And I like to forecast how that trend is going to look like in the next 3 months or 6 months, 12 months, and so on. Right. So that's something I want to do. And then this like actual data is the data we have, or we just downloaded from Salesforce. And then I like to forecast in the next 12 months. That's a forecasted period. Okay. And then I like to use a time series forecasting with something called Profit. And this one is basically designed for more, typical users. I'm not sure like what is mean a typical, but people without the time series forecasting or statistical background, and should be able to do the time series forecasting. I think that's the sort of design philosophy at the beginning. Sean J. Taylor or his other co-workers at the Salesforce, not Salesforce, and Facebook built this amazing algorithm, I think a few years ago. And since then, it's been, many organizations, institutions, and individuals been using this. And then this is actually one of my favorite analytics. But detailed stuff is in the slides, but I like to show you like how you can use it. Okay, so like we have the lead data here. I'm gonna just close this dashboard. I have imported it here, the list. I think this is one. Okay, and then like I have this much of the data. So each row represent each lead. Okay, so and then if I go to the chart view and then just quickly draw something like, for example, like created day, and then let's do like a month, and then number of the rows meaning number of leads. So looks like a leads, it's kind of, this seems like a seasonal. So for example, July, not much less leads compared to, what is this? This like a May, we have more leads and so on. So like there's some kind of like up and down, and then maybe like what happened like after that, this particular period, for example, from the next month to next 12 months and so on. Okay, so that's when you go to the analytics and then select under the time series analysis and then time series forecasting bracket Profit. This is the one, if you haven't explored the time series forecasting, this is the one you want to start with. Arima requires some knowledge about the time series forecasting stuff. So I highly recommend you start with the Profit, and then it will give you the decent result. And that's the beauty of this algorithm. Under the date time, I'm going to select the created day, and then let's see like monthly, aggregated data of the leads, and then forecast over the next 12 months. So number of the rows is fine. This is basically the same thing I've done for creating a chart. And then under this like a property button, forecasting time period. So I like to do like 12 months, and then the unit here is always according to here. So if this one is not month, instead this is like week or something, then like I should be typing like let's say 52 weeks or something to mean 1 year. So this case is a month, so I'm gonna go with 12. Click apply button. And then it will create a forecasting model behind the scene, And then this orange color is the forecasted values. This blue color is the original or actual data. And then this area from here to I think 2022 May, these are the 12 months that this model is forecasting. Okay, and then I can add, for example, external predictor area. So not just the forecasting, but I want to see, hey, actually, before that, let me just explain quickly here. So there's a trend. So this trend, the green line is a kind of like an overall trend throughout the period. And it seems like this like a red color is a something called change trend. When the trend change, you is like a kind of going one straight line instead, like maybe like a couple times like a trend change because something we are doing is working or something. And then like when you go to the yearly, it's like yearly seasonality. So like it's like something that repeats every year. Let's say like a summertime, like we get more customers, and if, maybe like fall time we have less customers and so on. So this is like a yearly seasonality. Like every year, April we have more leads, and then every year, like in July and in June, we have much less leads and so on. Okay, and then combine these, we have this forecasted values basically. So then I can bring in like external predictors. Let's say, hey, we have wait, external. Oh, okay. Other data that let's say like you have maybe like marketing data or something like that. You can join the data with this lead information, and then you can see like if the marketing is actually correlated with the number of the leads. If that's the case, hey, like your marketing is working. But if you have no relationship, then your marketing is not so well working in terms of getting the new leads. And you can do type of analysis by using this time series forecasting as well. Okay, so I'm gonna end for the profit demo here, and then I'm gonna move on to the last topic of today. Okay, so that is a predict win. So we had opportunity data, and then I like to predict, which opportunity are going to be something that like we can win, or with high probability that we can win, right? So that's something that I like to do here. So the build a prediction model. All right. So like the last one was something called forecasting. This one is something called prediction. It's kind of same thing, but it's slightly different. I like to show you quickly what that means. So you have the data, right? And then the most left-hand side has a conversion. And then conversion true means like we won. Conversion false means we lost it. Okay, and then all the sort of like attributes are presented in the same table. And then we can use whatever the algorithm to find the patterns, define it, and then build a model. Once you have the model, then you can get the data, like there's a new opportunity data coming in, and then use the model to predict the conversion status or something. Because we don't know, the conversion status, if we can win or not. That's the whole point of predicting. So, but a model based on the pattern, if algorithm finds in the or original existing data, and then try to apply and then try to find the answer. And so that's really the prediction in a nutshell. Um, but when you think about it, this model is basically the definition of a pattern the algorithm has captured in the data. And it turned out that is very useful more than just predicting the result itself. Why? Because pattern here, what I mean is like meaning the relationship among the variables. And some variables have a stronger relationship, some variables not. And in this case, particular relationship we are interested in is what is more related to or have a strong relationship with the conversion, or win or not. Right. So let's say like winning opportunity and lost opportunity. When you look at it, it turned out maybe the number of the employee is a different between these two groups. And if that's the case, if that's the kind of pattern that this algorithm can find, then I can use that knowledge, and then instead of I don't even have to have the model to predict true or false kind of thing. I already know, okay, that's the more important information, right? So And so that's the kind of relationship that that's the insight that I can gain from the model. Also, that type of relationship is that really significant relationship, or just happen to be like there's a difference, but maybe like it's not worth even like investing our resources. And also, if we build this model and we predict it, and what is the quality? What is the prediction quality? Like, is that something that we can rely on it, or is that something that maybe 30% of the chance works, but 70% of the chance it doesn't work? So those are the things that we like to investigate by building the model. Okay, so we have the opportunity data sort of, and then there's a column called stage name. This column has a clause lost or clause won. And then there are a few clause won, and then and then I like to understand what make the difference between lost and won. Okay, and then so there's something that we like, kind of like before building a model, there's something you can quickly do even without any knowledge of the model. So go to the summary view, and here is, wait a second, I'm gonna bring on the opportunity data that I have imported beforehand. So this is like a different data set, but it's actually same opportunity data. Okay, so this, and then here's a stage name here, and only like a clause one, clause lost. I remove all the other status because we don't know the result for those stages, like prospecting or something like that. Nonetheless, to do this kind of analysis, if it's numeric, you can go ahead. If it's text, you have to make a decision like if this is just a character, or this can be binary or logical. Logical meaning the true or false. And then it's actually, if you have only two, or if you, in this case, like one or not, that kind of nature of the data, I highly recommend you want to convert this to logical data type. What is logical data type? Is basically from the column header menu, change data type, and convert to logical. But in this case, convert to logical, you can two way to do it. Let's use this one. Convert to logical. No. Oh, and then in this case, if the sorry, if the data is 1, 0, 1 becomes true, 0 becomes false. If the data is yes and no, yes becomes true, no becomes false. In this case, neither of them is no, 0 or 1 or yes or no, that kind of stuff. So what you want to do is you want to type comma, and you want to set true value. So like here's a true value equal, and then I like to do closed one, and that this will make closed one to be true and other values to be false. Let's do it. Here, if I run it, and then to that, originally closed one had only, I think, 5,200, whatever, that becomes a true now. So this is one way to do it. Another way to do it, you could have done is create a calculation, and then you can use this equal and then close one. This looks like a filtering condition, but basically, yes, I'm creating a condition and then apply this condition to every single row. And then it matches, the value is matching, then it return true, otherwise false. This will give you the exact same result. I'm gonna just, let's run it. If I do it, and at the end, I have a calculation one column, and then has a true and a false. So this is another way to do it. This time, I'm gonna just delete this column. Oh, instead of like, I'm gonna just delete this step, and then because I already created this step, so I'm gonna keep using this one. Okay, so now it's logical. And once you have a logical, then you can start building the model. But before you start building the model, this correlate button is very useful. Once you click it, you are in a correlation mode. And then you can select either numerical column or logical column. Then luckily, we have already converted. So like I'm going to select the stage name. Okay. And then this is going to create the logistic model for every single column, and see that, so basically investigate the relationship between stage name and every single other columns. Okay, and then I can sort it based on the strengths of the relationship. In this case, there's something called AUC, which is basically the indication or measure to show you how much, for example, a given variable, for example, this amount can separate true and false data. So basically, it is shown, sort of like, hey, there's some relationship between this column and its stage name. And then this AUC number tend to be high. And then usually the value from 0.5 to 1, 1 is the greatest or like a strongest. So in this case, okay, so probability and is 1. Okay, these are a super strong 1. And when you think about it, this is 1 is like stage name. I mean, like it's the same information. In fact, I didn't probably have to use a stage name. There's a column called is 1. I mean, I should have used this column. But nonetheless. And then another thing is here. So probably around here is like a amount, looks like amount also, like a greater amount, the probability of winning goes down, and so on. And here's a call amount. This is like how many minutes you make the phone call. Sorry, how many times you had a phone call with this customer or opportunity. So it looks like the number of calls increase and the higher chance of like you can win the opportunity. And up to the point, once you exceed the 8, and then this like a confidence interval, and it's basically showing like, hey, within this range, through the probability is going to be more or less within this range, and it's not like going up or down. So after this point, probably like we don't have enough data to support any direction. But up from number 4 to number 10, or the 4 times to 10 times, this core amount has something to do with what do you call it, differentiating winning opportunity and losing opportunity. And some particular industry has a higher probability of winning, some particular industry lower chance of winning, and the sources and opportunity type and so on. Okay, and then now from here, what I can do is, let's say I want to create, let's say, prediction model, and then so there's if you are familiar with prediction model, then you can immediately, okay, like I just said, whatever the model you want to create. But otherwise, this is a very simple kind of like a diagram I created. So which prediction model you want to use is really depend on like what data type is your target. So in this particular case, our target variable is the stage name, or is one column, right? So that's a logical. Sorry, this is somehow Japanese. So like this is numeric, and this is time. Okay. So the center one, the true or false or logical data type. And in that case, I have if I want to go with a statistical learning model or machine learning model, and I can use a logistic regression for statistical learning model, or random forest XBoost, or decision tree for machine learning model. For that type of difference, I have done the past seminar, Machine Learning 101, so you might want to take a look. But in this case, I would like to go with a logistic regression model to use a statistical learning model for this kind of something called classification model. Okay, so to do, I can go to the analytics view and then create from scratch, just like the same thing with the chart. But I can select, for example, hey, these are the columns or variables I'm interested in the relationship with the stage name. And I didn't include this probability is 1 amount here. I think I can include the amount as well, but I didn't include this probability on is 1 because these are basically the answers. So it's kind of like if you bring in the answer, then you don't really, you basically lose the point of your data analysis. So at this point, then I can click on the column header menu, and then I can select which model I want to create. And I want to go with a logistic regression. Then this will build the logistic regression model under the analytics view, and then starting with prediction tab, and that's where I can see like the relationship kind of drawn by the logistic model. And I can go to the importance and see like which variable or which columns has more significant strong relationship with the stage name variable. So in this case, amount and call amount, opportunity type. This is basically this kind of similar information we saw in the summary view. But if you know the statistical running model, this is a multivariate analysis. So when the other variable values is constant, and if only amount change, then we know what is going to happen and what is the impact that will make on the stage status. Okay, so go to the prediction, the same thing. For example, the call amount, if the call amount increase, the probability of winning increase, and the opportunity type is like existing customers, we have higher probability of winning compared to existing customer for replacement or something, and so on. Okay, so now here, and then like under the data tab, and then you can see like each row with here is, okay. So this is like a prediction, the label and predicted probability. You can see the result of the prediction. But this is the existing data, right? So what you usually want to do, this to me, data analysis, I think this is good enough for me. But in case you want to do the prediction itself, hey, like I have a new customer or new opportunity coming, I want to use this model to predict every single customer or something that we should follow up, or like maybe like we don't even pay attention to. Then in that case, you want to do the prediction, and you can do it here as well. So you can predict the future opportunity for the future opportunity by using the model that we just created. And to do, all you need to do is just import a new opportunity data. And then from the data wrangling menu, select the predict with model bracket analytics view. And then you want to select the data frame that contains the analytics that we just created. Then run button, click run button, then you get the result for each row. Okay, so this is something that you can do as well. But in reality, like again, if you have the really kind of like sort of like easy to predict data, then I think you want to do it. But most of the case, not as simple. So I'd rather spend more time analyzing the data by building a model, a prediction model, and see the relationship, understand the relationship, and then maybe like you might need to do data transformation, cleaning up to improve the model and so on. And so, before doing the actual prediction. But anyway, if you like to predict, you can do as well. Okay, so that's it for today.